Hi ladies, welcome back to the channel. I'm Yanka, the excellent wife and mom, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today I'm going to go over, just a quick run through of the book God Schooling. So I read it this summer and I thought it was phenomenal. It's an excellent book. She has, I believe it's eight chapters, and the first one is called Biblical Support for Natural Learning. And in this chapter, she talks about homeschooling from a place of freedom as opposed to fear, okay? And then the scripture that I love that she talks about in here too is 2 Timothy 3:16. And it says, all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, training in righteousness, so that the man of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. And so that's the gist of what you're doing with homeschooling. Is good for everything. And I just really connected with that verse. That was excellent. In chapter 2, she talks about motivation and excellence. And so she's talking about motivation coming intrinsically and not having reward systems and things set in place. And she uses Galatians 6:4. And actually, let me go over that right quick. 29. Which says, each one should test his own actions. Then he can take pride in himself without comparing himself to somebody else. And actually, I want to go over page 40 right quick. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm just kind of like hitting, doing everything kind of in a nutshell. But if you get the opportunity, pick the book up. It is so good. And it's a lot of detail in it. And I love that she uses scripture as well as research. But at the end of that chapter, she has this page and it says, how do I get my kids motivated to learn something? It says, do not offer rewards, punishments, or opinions to get compliance. Offer specific encouragement, not generalized praise. I like how you use several colors to make the flowers. They look lifelike, not you are the best artist I ever met. Inspire, don't require. Cultivate relevant, real experiences for you and your family. Do stuff. Help children set goals towards tasks of their choosing. And in that do stuff and just listening, also, for me, what I got out of the book is listening to God speak to you, because he put you on this path. So listen for that voice, because he's telling you little things all along. So you have to just quiet your soul, quiet yourself so you can hear what he's saying. And she talks about little experiences that she had when God was telling her to do things and how she was not very compliant at first. But then, she got them bored in how that turned out for her kids, because her kids are older. Help children set goals towards tasks of their choosing. Allow active learning. Let kids make a mess. Let them explore. Get them outside. Talk about reasons and relevance for your requests. So, not telling them, you're going to do this and this and this and this and this, and then because I said so. Give them a little bit more than that. Ask open-ended questions, because you're raising free thinkers. You want them to think about what they're doing and why. I wonder why it does that, and just that can be a prompt for them. Expose them to tasks where the requirements of the task teach concentration, effort, time, and skill. Handicrafts, gardening, carpentry, instruments, etc. teach these skills as well. Make frequent library trips and encourage interest in anything, even non-traditional topics. And pray for wisdom about your child's learning. So I would say number one, you pray for wisdom. That should be your number one thing to do. Now in chapter 3, in those previous 2 chapters, she talks about the learning phases for kids. So that under 8, and then the 8 to 12, and then the teenage years. And so she gives thoughts on teaching children under age of 8 in chapter 3. And basically for this age group, you want play and real life experience, okay? And then this is the under 8 age group. So not so much academic type stuff. You can do that. You're free however God leads you, but understand where the child is at when they're below the age of 8. Then on chapter 4, she has thoughts on teaching children 8 to 12. So in this phase, kids, their academic skills are still developing, but they are beginning to show a preference for how they learn. And I have found this to be true because I have a 9 and 10-year-old. And I even remember when my kid, my oldest one, he got into that phase where he kind of wanted to learn, he wanted to do kind of the way he wanted to do it. And that was fine, because I understand that my way is not necessarily the best way. And so I'm hands off, and I'm more, even as when they were little, I always kind of watched and to see what their interests were and what they were doing, how they would respond to things. So in this stage, it says that boys demonstrate a desire for competition in their training, and girls continue to prefer a more relational learning model. So again, this is the 8 to 12 year phase. And she referenced this book called Why Gender Matters by Leonard Sachs. So I'm actually going to go and find that myself because I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. And then also in this phase, kids begin to think more logically about abstract events. Their logical thought development is not all there, but it's beginning. So you'll see a change. And I remember when I distinctly saw that in my own son. And then activities for this age and phase is service projects. So think like serving at the soup kitchen, or helping the homeless, something like that. Entrepreneurship. With us, it's been lemonade stands, and some of our own businesses, just taking them along, doing life together, and then play and movement as well. And then and actually in this chapter, she also emphasizes a need for whole experiences. So those things that I just mentioned, the service and the entrepreneurship and all of that, that's a whole experience. And they're just kind of like doing life with you. So some more examples of those holistic experiences is they can, making meals together, doing service projects, or visits together, spending time outdoors, getting involved in family business, reading quality literature, making creative projects together or individually, spending some quiet time, and having some free time. All right, in chapter 5, she's talking that's entitled "Giving Teens the Wings to Fly." This, even though I don't have teenagers yet, this was a great chapter because when I started home, or before I started, I thought through the teen years, then kind of worked my way back. And so she has some really good information about the teenage years. So like I said, I highly encourage you. I don't even know the woman. I just think this book is really good, and I'm always, one for growing and learning myself and expanding. So this is really, really good. She has a lot of her thought process is a lot along the lines of how I thought about and how I think about school for the kids. So I for the sake of this video, I may just do something separate and talk a little bit more about the teen years because my husband and I, we took care of some other kids. So we had an older kid before, and then we had, actually all the older kids were older than my kids. So we had a teenager before, and we had 2 other younger ones. But, and then I can tell you about how that all turned out. So anyway, that's the teens. And like I said, I'm just not going to jump into that right now, but because I'm primarily focused on my kids' age groups, which are 5 to 10. Chapter 6 is spreading the banquet. Chapter 7 is getting started. So she talks about praying, throwing out curriculum catalogs, homeschool magazines, and related publications. And one thing she said is play with your kids. And I totally agree with all of that. You don't want your mind to be fixed on how this thing should be. You don't want that in any area of your life because you want a blank canvas. So just like with anything else, you want to seek God, involve God in this thing. He put you on this path. Just like we involve him in any area of your life, you want to involve him in homeschool because he's going to give you those ideas. He knows your child better than you know your child. So he's going to know every little thing that child needs from baby all the way up until they're 18 and out the door. And then chapter 8 is Q&A. Chapter 9 is record keeping and structure. So she's, graduated her kids and stuff. And she talks about too, college, but that's not the end all of everything. And, trade and just other avenues. So you don't want, you want to know why did God put my kid here? What is the what path should they take, because college is not for everybody, you know. And that's absolutely fine, because I already said, you know, I won't be pushing my kids towards that. I'm truly looking to see what God has for them, you know. So that's the book in a nutshell, ladies. It's a really, really good book. And I just really think she just does a great job of just laying out all the particulars of, you know, each stage that your child is in. So that baby to 8 and how they learn, that 8 to 12 and how they learn, and then that teenage years. And she's told a great story and research about those teen years and how we got to the teenage culture. It is so good. So again, go get you this book, God Schooling by Julie Polanco. And yeah, that's all I have. So God bless you. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.